let's get into it.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's exciting times coming on right now with you guys, right?
Yep.
You got a new album coming out.
We do.
Seventh one?
Seventh, Shinedown 7. Yeah, it's crazy to think about that number. When you're inside of it, when you're kind of in the melee of life. I mean, I guess everybody goes through this. It's not just rock bands, but you know, you're in it, you're doing it, you're nose to the grindstone. At least for us, that's how we are. We often say we don't rest on our laurels, and we always want to outdo ourselves and work harder than the next record. And when you finally kind of come up for air for a second, you see, man, this is record number 7. Which so some bands have turn out records a lot faster than we do as well. But for us, that 7 milestone is pretty huge. And we've just been, I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were recording Amaryllis or something, and here we are, about to release another one. So super exciting, man. We're really we're pretty enamored with what we have. I'm so far inside of it, I don't know if it's good or not. People have reassured me recently that it is good. But when you birth a song, you write it, you produce a demo, you mix a demo, you sit on that demo for a year, or 6 months, a year, whatever. Some of these songs were a year. And then you bring your bandmates in and you start all over again from scratch with it, and you record it again, and you edit it, and you mix it.
Right.
By the time you get to the end of it, man, and it's mastered and everything, you really have very little perspective, which is the detrimental thing about a band member producing a record is you're way too far inside of it, and you can't see the forest for the trees. And I just always rely on how I felt with the demo. Like, how did I feel when this thing was new? What did it feel like? Did it feel like it needed something extra? Did it feel like, I'm always cognizant of that when I'm working on them. When I finish a demo, and we produce demos like they're going to be on a record. I mean, Barry's not playing drums on them all the time. Sometimes, Zach's not playing guitar on them, and that stuff's going to change later. But we approach a demo when it's packaged for someone to hear. I want them to feel like they're listening to as close to a record as you can get. So I'm still, I've got the benefit of that, being able to kind of listen to it like a record and kind of hear it come back at me through the speakers like that, and go, okay, what is this making me feel? What do I need to do more of, less of? Is this fine the way it is? Let's just track some drums and guitars and we're good. I mean, so often Brent's vocals on a demo are what end up on a record, because there's something about that fresh thing that you did that first time. We know when we need to retrack vocals or retrack certain elements, but Shinedown really in the studio is a two guitar player band. I play some guitar, and if I wrote a riff, I'll play it. If Zach wrote a riff, he'll play it. If I write a solo, I'll play it. If Zach writes a solo, he plays it. And we love having that sort of free form thing with each other. There's no, the egos are left at the door with Shinedown 1,000%. I mean, I played drums at the end of a song on Attention, at the end of a Human Radio, when it breaks into that big outro and the drums sound changes. Barry was gone, and I was in the studio. I was like, I need drums here, and I just went in and played, and I said, hey man, don't be mad at me, but nobody's mad about it. It's like, Shinedown is a thing we like to say. It's not about the painter, it's about the painting. And Zach coined that phrase, and I love that.
That's good. Yeah.
And so we, whatever it takes to make the painting the best it can be, so there's certain songs where I'm singing every harmony on the record, and then there's certain songs where Brent's singing all the harmonies on the record. It does what sounds best, what makes it a better song. But back to my original point, when we are writing and trying to get my producer brain in the right spot when it comes time to do a record, I just have to rely on my memory and on what gave me chills when I listened to the demo, or what did I feel like needed to be better when we did the demo. Because at this point, I've heard these songs, quite a lot before we even start tracking drums. And also realizing what guitar tracks are going to maybe stay on the record. Maybe there's a bass track that came from the demo that I like better than the bass I recorded. We're always going to try to outdo it. If we can't, I know what I loved about this original thing that we did in the moment, that when it was fresh and new, and I we'll bring those elements into the final version. But yeah, I guess we were talking about the seventh album and we got off on this tangent, but
That's cool.
It's a lot of work, man, but it does cause the time to fly by when you're doing, when the band itself is doing most of the heavy lifting on the records.
Yeah.
It seems like just yesterday we were tracking drums for this record, and now here we are done.
When did you start recording it?
Everyone showed up April 28th, I think. We started, April 28th was the first day we started tracking drums. And we actually tracked more songs for this record than we have for any other Shinedown record. So
how many songs?
We actually 24.
Okay. Wow. You could do a double album.
But we're not. And so it's we had all these songs that we loved, and we loved the vibe of them, and we just weren't sure what was right for the record and what wasn't. Usually we're pretty sure.
Right.
In this case we weren't. And so we just decided to track. We didn't track every song we had written, but we tracked a good many of them. And it was probably too much we probably bit off more than we could chew with it, but we did that. And we didn't finish all of them either. We kind of knew as we were working on them, it's like, okay, this one definitely is going to happen. This one has a vibe. This one has a vibe. As they came out of demo form and started to be more of a record, they started to raise their hand. And I don't think that we completely finished any songs that aren't on the record. So they kind of started letting us know. But we did track all the drums and bass and guitar and, whatever vocals we needed to track for the others. We were all tracked, but I think it was kind of when it got to the mixing process, it was like Brent and I kind of got together and started formulating songs for a record and what it would be. And that was part of the reason why it took so long to get the record done. The other part is touring. We went out and did 2 tours, and I got COVID on the second tour and spent some time sick, and so just didn't feel like coming out here and working. So that kind of slowed us down a little bit. But
So will those songs ever see the light of day?
Sometimes they do with us, sometimes they don't. We've got more unreleased material than released material for sure. We've got, I would say, for each record at least 8 to 10, if not more, songs, maybe more than, for each record. I mean, more than that, vastly more than that. We've got enough for maybe a full record on each record of unreleased written material. But sometimes it does, like a song like Atlas Falls that we did for Direct Relief, that we did for fundraiser during COVID. That song was a song that was written and recorded for Amaryllis, so in 2012, 13, around in there, and it had just been sitting unused, and it seemed like a perfect song for that. And so we brought it out of retirement, and now the world has it. And we've talked in the past about doing a Shinedown's Nearest Misses instead of Greatest Hits. We're never going to do a Greatest Hits record. If anybody's waiting on a Shinedown, never. We're not going to do it. We won't do it. There won't unless someone circumvents us in some way. We have no desire to do a Greatest Hits record. For me, that's you do a Greatest Hits record when you don't have anything left.
Right.
And
I don't got a shit ton of hits.
I don't intend on having nothing left. So so in lieu of that, we thought it would be fun maybe one day, and we're not saying we are, but we've talked about releasing not B-sides, but just like songs that were never on records that are still great songs. I mean, we've got some songs that I think are some of the best songs we've ever written that have never been heard. So and that's record making, though, like in a real democratic way, is there. I feel like if you've done it right, there are songs on the record that you feel like shouldn't be on the record that are, and records that are on the record that you feel like should be. Everyone should have those one or two.
Do you guys get into little arguments when it comes time to pick the songs?
Not arguments. I think
You know what I'm saying, though.
I'll put this on me. Everyone else is way more pragmatic about it than I am. Like I get like very like fired up about it, man, because I
Yeah.
feel like especially the last couple of records where I'd produced songs on other records, but I never produced full records until Attention 4 hour
Mhm.
band. um I produced Diamond Eyes, and I produced Cut the Cord and our iTunes sessions and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um but but when really with attention, because when you're that intimately involved in making a record, you feel like you know what's going to be there and how it should flow and what song should go one into the next. And um so when someone starts bringing up, I don't think this song should be on the record, I think this should be first, or um we had a song we wrote that for this record that Brent was convinced was the first song on the record, and this is going to be the opening track on the record. He's not wrong. It started like an opening track. It felt like an opening track to something, but I didn't feel like the song was one of our stronger ones that we had. And he was just so convinced. No, you don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand. And I think that maybe I drove him to a point where I made him see it my way. I
Yeah.
don't know. I have a tendency to be heavy-handed and a little bit bullish about, when I feel like something's right or wrong. And I've been known to be wrong for sure. But
Sure. Not often, but it
Brent,
happens, right?
yeah, Brent and I are we're very much, I call us type A- people. We're not completely type A, what do they say, sigma males or something, where we're not alphas, but we're not omegas either. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there really isn't one of us in the room that with anybody in our band who's throwing their weight around. We all get along. So as far as arguments go, there aren't any arguments about that
Yeah, yeah.
stuff, but there are discussions about it.
Mhm.
Serious discussions about it, because it matters. We consider
Sure.
the records are forever, and that's your, we love playing live, but the record's what you're leaving forever. And so and that just, for me, that's what throws all the weight, the pressure and the weight on me when I'm making them, is that
Mhm.
thought of, I think a lot about the fans when I'm making records. Some bands don't think, I don't know this for a fact, but just hearing other artists speak, we don't think about what people are going to think about this when we're making it. We don't think about the fans when we're making it. We're just doing what we do and making music. And I don't operate that way. And Brent doesn't operate that way. And Zach and Barry don't operate that way. When we're making a record, we have to be excited about what we're doing. But in that excitement is, man, I really think the fans are going to love this, or, keeping them in mind all the time. I think that's, and in a genuine way, not in a capitalistic, sort
Mhm.
of I'm not talking about making money. I'm talking about, how are people going to receive this? What are they going to think about this? Are they going to love this? Are they going to hate this? And when I'm making the record and engineering it and mixing it, and all of those thoughts of that weight is super heavy for me,
Sure.
and I take all of it into account. And um it can be it's a very blessed thing that I'm able to do. I mean, I often say, we get paid way too much money to do a kid's job,
Yeah.
but
So,
but it doesn't take away the pressure of that, the fact that this is forever. This is something that you want your fans and the people around you to, the people who hear it maybe 100 years from now, maybe 200 years from now, next week, whenever they listen to it, you want them to be moved by it.
so does the pressure of producing the record, I mean, that's got to add more to you, right? I mean, you got all that other pressure you just spoke about,
Yeah.
and now you're producing it and everything else. I mean, what kind of pressure does that bring to you?
I view it as it's it's good pressure. It's um I thrive off of it in certain ways, and in certain ways I get buried by it. So I thrive off of it in that if I wasn't doing it, it would drive me crazy. Like
Mm.
I would rather be going nuts doing it. And when I say going nuts, I mean in a very literal way. Uh, this is actually the first interview I've done since I finished the record. So,
Oh, okay.
um, we can talk about
Yeah.
this aspect of I if if method acting if there was such thing as a producer or a mixer who does like quote unquote method acting, you know, they just immersive. That's what I do, man. I do one thing. I don't multitask. I'm doing this record. This is all I'm doing. It means everything to me. It's a life or death thing for me. There is no just good enough. Is this, I hate to sound vague, but I always go, is this doing the thing? Is it doing the thing? Does it sound right? Does it move you? Are you getting chills? Is it delivering on what it should be? And this is my inner monologue constantly. And it's not good for my mental health. I mean, I study with mental health issues. I struggle rather with mental health issues anyway. And so more than once on this record, I was talking to my wife or talking to Brent. Those tend to be the two people I talk to about this stuff. And it was like, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. I don't know if I'll ever do this ever again. I don't ever want to produce another record ever again when I'm in the middle of this. And, you know, then because it's just so, it can be demoralizing. It can be really exciting, but I just never think that I'm good enough. I never think that I'm doing a good enough job. I don't think that, you know, I'm a self-taught engineer. I'm a self-taught mixer. I'm a self-taught producer. I've never worked in a big studio other than when I've had, you know, meaning I didn't come up in a big studio.
Right,
much like what you and I were just talking about.
Yeah,
I started in my bedroom with Cubase back in the day. And that's what I use. Yeah, that's how I started, and I figured it out from there. I started recording demos for another band I was in, and you know, here we are, you know, 25 years later or something.
Now look at you.
But you know, but that I have a, you know, knowing that perfection is never attainable, I keep for myself a level of perfection that I wish I could achieve, and so that never. Or I have something in my mind's ear that a record is supposed to be like, this record is supposed to be this. And if I can get close to that, then I know I'm doing all right. And there'll be moments where I get close to it, but most of the time I'm nowhere near it. And that goes for any record I work on. And so therefore in my mind, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And then you get to the mixing process, you know, and I got to the mixing process with this record, and I didn't feel like I was accomplishing what we wanted to accomplish, what we had talked about and what I'd wanted to hear. And it got to a point where I looked, you know, I just told Brent, I was like, I don't know if it's healthy for me to continue this. Maybe we should find someone else to mix the record, because it just was not, I was not in a healthy mental place making this record, you know, and I had this disdain for the record as I was making it, you know. It's like, just wasn't adding up to what I wanted it to be and what I thought it should be. And maybe I was doing the record a disservice and all of these things. And then the next day I got on, you know, he's staying here in Charleston, so he's right down the street from me, but I got on FaceTime with him the next morning and I said, I'm going to give it one more shot, man. Let me figure some things out. And you know, I went on this, I started mixing here in the studio. I got this great control room, and I just wasn't getting it the way I wanted it to be. There was something missing and I couldn't figure it out. And so I just went on this, what ended up being a fruitless search, but I think it's kind of what I have to do as part of my process. And I mean, I took all my mixing stuff, I took a laptop and my monitors into the coat closet in my walk-in closet, and set everything up in there just to see if I could get something different out of a different environment. And you know, it shows a walk-in closet because there's not a lot of reflections, and it's pretty diffused in there. And I've actually mixed, I've had some success in the past doing something like that out of necessity. And it didn't happen in there. And so in fact, one of the my lowest moments as a professional was me in my walk-in closet with the door shut behind me, working on this track, trying to get a mix out of it, and it's not sounding great. And Chris McLaren walks in behind, just because Eric Rickard, who's the gentleman who I've worked with for 20 years, he was in here, and Chris stopped by and he said, "Oh, he's in the house." And Chris walks in, and I'm talking to myself as Chris walks in. I forget what I was saying to myself. It was something unkind. And Chris goes, "Oh, it's going that well, huh?" You know, and it's just like, you know, you're chasing this thing, you know. It's not, making music is not a technical endeavor for me, especially not mixing. You know, mixing is supposed to be this where you need the scientists, right? Scientists are the engineers and the mixers and all this stuff. And yeah, you do to an extent, but when it's yours, it has to make you feel something as you're doing it. You're not just worried about the technicality of mixing it. You want it to sound good, but it has to move you. And I think that just in finding that, I have to, it's part of my process. I have to kind of chase my tail around just to come back out here to the control room that sounds great,
where you started,
finally land on something and go. And as soon as I land on it, man, I've got it. You know, I'll knock songs out one every couple of days, but I have to feel like I've landed on something that's worthy of Shinedown and of my brothers and my friends who I play in the band with, who are relying on me to, you know, forget about the label and you know, I don't think about that stuff. I'm not thinking about the label. I'm not thinking about, you know, what they're going to think. I'm thinking about what am I helping the other three gentlemen who I'm in a marriage with, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Am I doing them justice? Am I doing justice to what we've created? And again, you know, I feel like I'm the only person in the world going through these things when I'm going through it. And then you see things, you know, you see famous quotes or famous comments by people. What was the favorite one that I read while I was in the middle of this, and I was really having a hard time, was this was Michelangelo when he was doing the Sistine Chapel, right? And he wrote a letter to another artist, and you can find it. It's been translated. It's had to be translated because of the dialect he was using at the time. But he's basically writing a letter to a friend of his, asking him to defend his honor because this painting he's doing is terrible, and you know he's begging his artist friend to, who was the head of some consortium or something there, to defend him when it's done. And then it gets, the last thing he says in that thing is, "I am not a painter." And it's like, fuck, man. Like for someone like that to say that about themselves, and that to be one of the seven wonders of the world, you know,
right.
Not that I'm comparing myself to him. It's not that. That's not the point. The point is even the greats go through that self-doubt of when they're creating something. And that really helped me. It's like, oh man, it was like a breath of fresh air. It's like, I'm not the only one that goes through this. And I saw some other quotes, you know, where it's like, no great art, you know, can be created without suffering or whatever. You know, I don't know who to attribute that to, but that's something else that I saw. And so it makes me feel a little more normal.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just a natural feeling, you know, that you would have when you're creating stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's, if it matters to you, yes. You know,
yeah.
And again, I don't, nothing makes me feel more amazing or more worthless than creating music, depending on what stage you're at with in the game, you know. And you know, I've learned enough though, and honestly in the last 6 months making this record, that just to relax, that, you know, and I knew this already, but you have to so it's a lesson that I have to constantly relearn, which is, it's not going to be like this forever. Like, you're going to be okay. It's not like you're going to let this record suck and, you know, put out something completely terrible. You know, so yeah, making this record was difficult, man. And I think in the end, it's a very unique record. It's probably the most unique Shinedown record for me that we've ever made. So
it's a little more stripped down from what I understand, right?
Yeah, that answer some of the issues I was having. You know, it's like it's one thing to mix a record with a ton of reverb and tons of verb on the drums, and you know, all of these super replaced drum sounds and lots of auto tune and, you know, that kind of thing. But when you want to make a record, when you're trying to make a record that is, you know, well, the drum sounds like the drums that were recorded in this room. That's the reverb on the drums. There's very little reverb on any of Brent's vocals at all on this record. Like, it's just very, very dry. we wanted to do that. I was like, what happened? The first conversation we ever had about this record was, I was on the phone with Brent and I said, what if we made a record where it was way more based around just drums, bass, guitar, and vocal than anything we've done. Not a lot of synth in the songs. And the vocal is right up in your face and super dry and commanding in a way that I didn't think Brent's voice had ever been done. And so that's the road we went down. And there are other songs on the record. It's a very eclectic record, like we try to make normally. We'll try to, we'll try some things we haven't tried before. And there are some moments of that aren't drums, bass, vocal, and guitar, or there's some things that are relatively different. But I can't talk too much about it right now. But I think when people finally hear the record, they'll understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So it's not all just that, but the majority of it, especially the heavy songs, are very, very dry in your face. There is no copying and pasting of, guitar parts or anything like that. It's just, and not that we really did a ton of that anyway, but I wanted, I didn't hard edit guitars or anything like that. Like you can hear, scratchy noises and right. amp buzz and all this stuff throughout the record. And I love that about it. I don't know if we'll ever go back away from that because I enjoyed that so much, but yeah, it's way more, it's way more raw of a record than
because you guys have, I mean, you put a lot of layers on your songs.
We do. With me producing, that's more of a especially in guitar land, that stems from, I like to build guitar sounds rather than just a left and right tone and that's it. Mm. I'll actually build, the song that Cut the Chord is a perfect example where if you were to solo out all of those guitars, especially in the choruses, they're not all really that great by themselves. And it's kind of, I'm not purposely getting bad guitar tones, but I like to, okay, this thing is holding down more of the low mid. I need something that's grindy in the middle and something that has a little more sheen on it over here. And I mean, one of the guitars on the chorus of that song, I think it's the hard, if you're listening to it, the hard right guitar is a bass that I just rolled all the low end off of and ran it through a Marshall, rather than being a guitar. And I like to kind of build these conglomerate tones out of several things rather than one thing. And what that has a tendency to do is sound like just a ton of layers on top of each other. Because in essence it is, but it's not for the purpose of having it sound huge. It's just the way that I like to build things. And I did some of that on this record for sure. The song that will be the first single is one of those where there are a lot of different elements making it do what it does, and hopefully it sounds pretty simple. I think it definitely comes off more simple and not so layered. But again, just I'm obsessed with trying to create some different sounds, and whether I achieve it or not, I'm not sitting for some hubris like I create sounds no one else can make. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that when I enter into trying to create sounds on a record, guitar sounds or keyboard sounds or the combination of the two, I'm gunning for something that maybe I haven't heard before. Okay. So
when is this record coming out? What's the date? Do you have a date?
We don't have a date yet, but it will be soon.
Okay.
It will be soon. I don't have a date I can tell you about right now.
Okay.
How's that?
It's a top secret.
Depends on when this is airing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's all top secret right now. But we can follow up when it comes out. We can follow up on it with another one of these when it's out, and then I can divulge everything because I'm really excited for the world to hear this thing, man. I mean, it is a definitely a labor of love, and it's going to be subject matter wise. I mean, I think Brent's used the term provocative in another interview. It could be it's going to make a lot of people think. I think that's really what the purpose of it is for us is to, it's not there's there's a lot of hope and positivity in it, but it's also not a warm blanket you want to snuggle up in necessarily. You
Okay.
know, it's a brutally honest record, and I think that again, going back to what the production is on it, the fact that it's as dry and aggressive as it is, I think plays into you know, it lends itself to the subject matter that we wrote about. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys are, you said it's brutally honest. I mean, you guys appear to be a real honest band as well. You know, I mean, like your
yeah,
last album, that was a heavy album, meaning, you know, not like heavy rock,
yeah.
but
No,
you
I know
know
what
what I
you
mean?
mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's real.
That's who we are. I mean, we don't write anything we don't know. If we do have story songs, but you know, those story songs are things we've experienced and maybe we put on somebody else or something. But I can say honestly that everything on Attention, the last record, and everything on this record is you know what and it's like that again. I think you said it best. I should have just deferred to you on that. But you know, we don't write anything we don't know. Therefore, we write honestly. And I can't just make up a story about some event that happened that I didn't live, or something that I'm not attached to. And Brent can't either, and neither can Zach or Barry. So, you know, the thing is, like what I was saying about, you know, the fact this record might be considered provocative by some people. It's not meant to be, at least not purposefully, but if we hadn't written this record, we it wouldn't be honest. It wouldn't be who we are. It wouldn't have been where we were and what we thought at the time. So, you know,
Do you get pressure from the label wanting you to write more hits? And
no,
no, they just let you go.
they'll let you know if it's not a hit. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, we don't. Here's the other thing, man. Like, for whatever reason, it might seem counterintuitive. We don't. I never enter into a songwriting session, or Brent never enters into a songwriting session going, "We got to write a hit." Those words have never come out of our mouths during a writing session. Now, when you're listening back to something and you're done with it, you go, well, maybe this could be better, or maybe that could help the song. We don't have those conversations. It's why, you know, again, this is not these statements I'm going to make aren't from a place of you know, of being cocky or anything like that, because that's not how I don't operate that way.
Yeah.
But I can say that I think that's the biggest pitfall for a band that's trying to write a hit is we got to write a hit. What's a hit? Well, a hit sounds like this song this other band did. And believe me, I'm not immune to that. I'm not immune to hearing a song and going, wow, that's really effing good. And, you know, man, I love the vibe of that song. You know, maybe we should try that vibe. But we don't ever go, we got to write a hit. We got to write a hit, you know. Just write a song, write a great song, write something that that moves you musically, moves you melodically, moves you lyrically. Does it mean something to you? And if you do that, you've got integrity at that point. You know, integrity is a huge, at least I'll say this in rock music. Integrity is a huge part of what makes a hit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the song has to be serious subject matter. You know, it can be about, you know, listen to all the 80s songs and stuff, man. You know, Round and Round by Rat is, you know, subject matter wise isn't the deepest thing you'll ever hear, but there's integrity in the performance, there's integrity in the songwriting, there's something that's decidedly that band, and you know, they tapped into something and it moved them. For, you know, you can take that, you can laugh at that statement, but it's true. Like, you just have to be real, you have to be true. Don't worry about writing a hit.
Yeah.
You know, it'll all come out in the wash. I mean, if you get done with a record and you feel like you need one or two more things that are this or that, or maybe we have a good collection of songs that are a support system if we had a couple of songs that were better, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we never use single. We all say better, you know, we need something better. So, and to answer your original question, the label doesn't ever come at us with that. Now they will when you're done, if you turn it in, or you, this is why we're kind of cold sometimes on turning in all the songs we have before they're all done, you know, because you'll get certain comments like, where's the second chance of this record? You know,
Right,
they'll
right.
use your songs, you know, where's the second chance? Where's the cut the chord? You know, but I don't think about it that way. And we don't think about it that way. And sometimes you have to go to them and go, you know, or to other people in the business sphere and go, listen to it again.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to it again. You didn't hear it the first time. Listen to it again. Because I feel like we're mature enough now where we know when we've got something good that maybe is different and not as obvious. You know, the labels want obvious songs. They want songs that sound like something else they've heard because they know it works. They want
Sure.
something sounds like something you did previously because they know that works. And I mean, Shinedown's always going to sound like Shinedown. We're not. Brent has a great way of putting it. We're not out to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to change the tires, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
Do your
we
thing.
are who we are as songwriters. But we're always trying to find something different. And when we turn in something that is not what they expected or is a little left of center, you know, for them, or you know, they'll get a little worried, you know,
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
sure they got to get nervous.
but then we have conversations and they're like, we're going to trust you. We trust you, which is that's a great thing to hear from your record label.
Yeah.
We're going to trust you. And I'll tell you another thing too, man, is a lot of it is how much belief you have in it as an artist. Like, do you believe in this?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, it's like blood in the water.
Mm.
You know, they can smell that you don't believe in it. You better believe in it, and you better be out there to tell them how amazing it is and how awesome it is, and tell everyone else how amazing and how great it is. Again, not from a place of hubris, not from a place of being holier than thou or cocky, but just because you better believe in it, and you better tell everyone else that you believe in it. So you know that you have to understand something though about being as fortunate as we are to be able to do what we do. One thing that I always remind myself is, you know, everything has a price, everything has a cost. Nothing is free. In certain senses, nothing is free. Meaning, I get to do what I love to do. I get to make music that hopefully the masses enjoy, and thus far have seemed to. And there's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for that. My price for that is that my art becomes a commodity. So it's my art, it's our art, it is all that struggle I was telling you about with mixing and getting it just right and all of that. No one's going to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
No one knows about that. And while I'm making it, though, it's very precious to me, and it is something that matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it still matters when it goes out to the public. But as the person making it, as soon as you hit send on that email or you put it in a Dropbox, they hear it for the first time. You have to understand they're not hearing it through any other lens, and they're music fans. But I don't think you can work in the music industry and not be a music fan. So there are some people who are just bean counters, but most of the people you encounter, from vice presidents all the way to heads of A&R to product managers, these people are and radio promotion people. They're music fans.
Sure.
So I'm not saying they don't appreciate what you've done, but as soon as they hear it, they're processing it as, how can we monetize this the best?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it becomes a product, and that's the price you pay. And it took me longer than it should have to come to that realization that these people aren't cold, heartless. You know, a lot of the tropes that get thrown around about people in the music business. There are some that are. Most of them are not.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are just people who some did have musical talent, but most of them didn't have any musical talent, but loved music and wanted to be around it. So, so you can't fault them for doing their job, which is,
right.
you know, I've got to take this. You know, this is now not a piece of art anymore. It's a commodity. It's a widget. You've made a widget. Now we have to sell the widget.
Sure.
And so, we've had moments of the label saying things like, I don't think this is good enough, or you don't have enough yet, or whatever. And, the response is either, you're right, we need to go back, we don't feel like we're there yet, but we wanted you to hear this. Or if we feel like we are there and they're not getting it, you have to tell them, no, you're not hearing this. Listen again. And a lot of times for us, we'll again, because it's rock music, a lot of the label isn't tuned into rock music all the time.
Mm-hmm.
The label that we're with, who we adore, we love being there, but they've got Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and they're a massive hip hop label now, hip hop and R&B label. So it's here just to acquaint you with what's going on. Listen to this, and we'll send them some things to listen to. Now listen to what we're doing to kind of bring them back in so they understand the world we're in. And then it kind of helps them to get it. It's like, oh yeah, this is really great. Yeah, it's really great. We think it's awesome. Because I do keep my pulse on what's going on in other styles of music. I enjoy a lot of things about other styles of music. There's some hip hop that I enjoy. There's some, I like old school country mostly. So anything that's sort of like more roots country, I'll listen to. But I'm not, those things don't make me tick. Like metal and rock make me tick.
What did you grow up with? Kind of music?
Well, in my youth, I was, my mom was a professional musician. My grandfather was a professional musician. So my grandfather played in big bands, like, Tommy Dorsey type stuff. And so I grew up on a lot of like big band music and that kind of thing early on. Lots of musicals, lots of, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers and West Side Story and this type of stuff. But then honestly, man, like I was at the perfect age for hair music, and that was really the first thing. I remember hearing Van Halen Jump came on I don't know if you and I are pretty similar in age. So there was a time before cable television and well, at least the cable television we have now. And I think there were the three major networks. There was WGN in Chicago, TBS,
Cubs and the Braves.
Yeah. And so on WGN, like every day they do like a network break or something, and they use Jump for the network break. Right, I was like, holy crap, man, what is that? That was the first. I was probably 8 years old, 8 or 9, and I was like, what is that? And that was one of my first memories. And I was right there when MTV was starting to come out. So I go to my grandmother's house, I could watch MTV. She had MTV when the first cable package happened. MTV could be part of that. That was so
exciting, wasn't it?
Yep. And so I remember seeing Van Halen Jump on MTV at my grandmother's house, and I was like, this is insane. But then it took, I got a little older, and honestly, man, the thing that made me pick up a guitar was I heard "Talk Dirty to Me" by Poison on the radio.
Really?
And it was like that riff in the beginning, just for a 11 or 12-year-old kid,
riff.
Was like the biggest sounding thing in the world. And because it was coming on right after Whitney Houston or something, back then. So on Top 40 radio. And that made me want to pick up a guitar. But then from there, I went on to, I think that year that, I think it was the same year, GNR Appetite came out and Justice for All came out, and like that was probably one of the more monumental years for me as far as musical growth goes. Cause it was like hearing, okay. So at that point I'd been listening to, Rat Motley Crue, Poison, Dangerous Toys, and Great White, and then all of a sudden you hear Appetite for Destruction, and you hear And Justice for All. And you talk about two really honest records. We've been back to honesty. Two honest records in the middle of a sea of stuff that's got a little more pizzazz to it, shall we say? That had dirt on it, and it was there was something else going on with it, making it tick. But it's always been about guitar, man, for me. Guitar and keyboard.
So did you start with guitar, or did you start with piano?
Well, I started with piano when I was a kid and I hated it. And I was
Yeah.
made to take lessons and I couldn't stand it. And so I quit. Um, I discovered the guitar for myself. I was gonna see if I had it sitting over here. I've still got it.
Your first guitar?
Well, my mom and dad had guitars in the house, and my mom had given my dad. My dad's a naval commander, so there was no hope for him to want to play guitar. My mom gave him a guitar anyway when they were dating or whatever. It was a 4-string harmony tenor acoustic, so it was just the top, just the 4 highest strings, and you could play chords. I could play a G chord with one finger. It was just that was a G. A D was the most complicated thing I would play. C was 2 fingers. But I really didn't really concentrate on the chords. I would find melodies and play melodies on single string. That was kind of how I started. But once I've discovered that on my own, it felt like something that it was mine. I wasn't being made to do this. I really was gravitating toward it. And, I'd spent most of my childhood up to that point, like skateboarding and stuff. And I wasn't really great at that. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't really that great at it.
I never could ride a skateboard.
I got to where, man, I could ride walls and stuff, and I got pretty good.
That's pretty good.
But I was nowhere near good enough to do anything with it. So
I was in the BMX. That was my jam.
Yeah. I had a BMX as well. That was good. Good times, man.
Yeah.
Good times being a kid. No video games to speak of.
It was a good time to grow up.
It was really, 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 really was. So yeah, man, it was just always rock music, metal music. Van Halen became a huge part of my life. I guess one thing I didn't talk about was another one of the first things that I had to rock music was I randomly bought, and I don't know why I bought them. My grandmother or my aunt had taken me to the store somewhere, and I bought Queen's Greatest Hits and Aerosmith's Greatest Hits, the one that had the red cover. I bought those 2 cassette tapes randomly. They were just in the store. I didn't have any reason other than I liked the way the cover looked. And so I those were some of my first cassette tapes I ever had with rock music. And then a friend of mine later on gave me a cassette that had Back in Black on one side, these long play cassettes. And most of both records fit. I think the end of each one of these records was kind of cut off.
Yeah,
but Back in Black on one side and Van Halen 5150 on the other side. And that was huge for me, those things. So, man, it was just always the sound of rock music, and nothing's ever satiated me the same way. It's like just the way that instruments move me, rather than drum machines or synths or that kind of thing.
Now you play a lot of instruments, right?
I do. Yeah.
How many? Like 11 or something, I heard.
I don't know.
Is that true?
I mean, whatever. Honestly, I'm blessed in that I can pretty much pick anything up and make noise with it and play it. Proficient on an instrument is a whole other story. A whole other thing, man. Yeah, I'm probably proficient on, just a handful of the same instruments everyone else is proficient in. I can. I played in drumline in high school, so I'm decent on drums, but not great. Of course, piano, guitar, bass, mandolin, banjo, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm fairly proficient in those things. But again, for me, I tend to view playing instruments. I don't ever think about, because I love the studio so much. I love record making. I don't ever think about instruments or playing instruments in a live setting. I'm not divorced from that, but I am divorced from it when I'm creating. And so for me, it's more about being a composer. So what do I have to do to get this sound down? Well, I have to learn how to play this instrument well enough to record this part that I've written right now and get it laid down so I can move on to the next thing. And that's where a lot of the multi-instrumental things come in for me. Trumpet, trombone. Yeah, I played trombone in concert band in high school, but I was awful at it. But I keep it around, and I've got a cornet, and I've got I want to make these sounds, I want to make these noises, so I can learn how to play the notes I need to learn how to play. I just memorize the fingering for the notes that I need to get out, because I play everything by ear. Play this part on a trumpet, play this part on a trombone, because I can lay it down in the track and make it sound good. That's what it's about. It's
Yeah.
about being being a composer, not really being a player. You know,
Mhm.
so like I watch these guys that you know shred all over YouTube and stuff, and these bass players that are phenomenal. I'm never going to be that guy. I'm
Yeah.
never going to be a phenomenal musician. Now I can sweep pick and I can do certain things, but I've learned that stuff just so I can lay it down on a record.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Okay.
might forget it 6 months from now and have to
Right.
come back and reteach myself how to do it again. You know, because I just want to get what's, you know, again, I look at it more as like a composer. It would be like saying, well, John Williams is a terrible trombone player. Yeah, John Williams is probably a terrible trombone player, but he can write really kick-ass trombone
Right.
parts, you know?
Exactly. Exactly.
And so, you know, that's more how I view instruments. Instruments are just a means to an end and a tool for me to do what I hear in my head or how, you know, the
Mhm.
things I want to get down. Um, uh,
What a-
so
what about talk to me a little bit about the writing process. Like, what is your guys' writing process? Do you come up with the majority of the ideas? Is it a bring it to the band, or do you come up with complete songs,
yeah,
or does it just vary every time?
it's generally just two or three of us in a room. That's it.
Mm.
You know, Barry is not traditionally a songwriter. Our drummer is not. He has contributed to songs where he has been a songwriter for sure. But you know, songwriting is such a you can take one or two, you know, one or two paths to get to where you want to be as a songwriter. One is um, like Brent seems to be a natural songwriter. He's a natural lyricist. Words make him tick first. You know, I was always a music makes me tick person
Yeah.
first before lyrics. I had to learn how to be a lyricist and learn how to uh, become a better songwriter. And I think I've just really arrived there in my 40s. I've arrived in a place where I consider myself a lyricist,
Mhm.
whereas previously I could write top line melody really well. I was always melodic. I got great melodies. I got great chord progressions, great melodies. I can always formulate a track and a melody to go over top of it, but words always escaped me. Brent's the one that really taught me about writing what you know, write what is what you feel is honest, right? What,
Mm.
you know, it's not, it's, and it's never going, you're never going to be able to sing it if you don't believe it. That's a huge thing about
That's true.
songwriting. And I've learned that, I don't say the hard way, but I've learned it through practice and through doing it. And like writing a line, I actually have a record that I was going to put out before the Shinedown record, but I'm holding off till after that is, it's kind of a rock opera thing that I wrote and I sang and played all the instruments
You
on.
did everything on it?
Did everything, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm very proud of it. But I remember working on this one set of lyrics for this one song, and I just thought it was like, as I'm hearing it in my head, man, it's cool. The words are cool here. They flow and all this stuff. And I remember laying that down and getting two takes into it, into a verse, and just going, nope, it's not right. I don't believe
Yeah.
this. I can't sing this. I can't emote this thing that I don't believe. And I went back and spent 2 more days. And that seems not constant 2 days, but over 2 days, rewrote the part to something that I really loved and I believed in. And you know, if there is going to be a single off of that record, that's probably going to be it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so true. If you don't believe it, you can't do it. So again, I gave that entirely too long of an explanation just to go back to Barry, which is, you know, Barry is a drummer. He's a great drummer. And he also loves music, and he's got some really good melodic talent with that. I didn't want to go by and say, well, Barry doesn't write songs and that's it.
Yeah.
Barry, you know, Barry's an invaluable part of our band. He's just not a songwriter yet. Maybe, you know, maybe in the future. But you know, we get in the room with one, or, you know, usually we started this record with just me and Brent for the first 12 or 13, 14 songs we wrote. It was just the two of us.
Okay.
And the process can begin many different ways. The first song we wrote for this record, I just come off of my record. I told Brent, I was like, I got to finish this thing before I can even think about Shinedown, because I'm one dimensional. I got to do this one thing, immerse myself in it. When I'm done with that, I can move on to the next thing. And you know, when we were sitting in my kitchen, and I was like, I don't know what I go through these spells of like, I don't know what to do with a guitar right now. Like, I don't know what, again, I'm searching for something fresh usually or something. And I'm like, I'm bored with it. I don't know what to do with it. So can we not write something on guitar first? And we actually ended up writing it on an iPhone in GarageBand, like with some strings in GarageBand,
Oh yeah.
where you can kind of just pluck around in GarageBand. We wrote this melody and kind of formulated a whole song in GarageBand just with
I didn't know you could do that.
GarageBand strings. We can kind of play it like it'll say C minor 7,
Yeah.
C major, C9, like this, and you can kind of
I'm gonna have to mess with that. I never.
hit your like these pizzicato sounding strings. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So we just kind of wrote the first song like that, and then came out here to the studio, and I plugged an iPhone into the Neve console, recorded an iPhone, and that's the first song we wrote. But when it comes to subject matter, and that was just the musical side of it, we kind of built it. I'll do that if we start that way. We'll get a melodic idea going with when we're messing with a guitar, we're messing with a keyboard, or we're messing with an iPhone. And usually I have a tendency to write melody phonetically, and so does Brent in a lot of ways, where we don't go la la la, we sing nonsense words, but the vowel sounds sound really good over these certain long notes. And so when it comes to kind of writing the hook, you try to like, well, is there something we can write around this vowel sounds we already had on this nonsense melody? Right. Or maybe the nonsense melody isn't, or the nonsense words aren't nonsense. Maybe there's something to them that we can, we can attach some meaning to, but that's one way to start. Another way is maybe I've got a guitar riff or something, or I've got this riff I want to flush out, so I'm going to build a track that's just the riff and a verse, and I think maybe it should go here for a chorus, but I don't know. So we'll just build like little parts and pieces in Pro Tools, and then see where that leads us. Very rarely do we start with just lyrics. A lot of people ask, do you start with the lyrics? And sometimes I'll have things written down, or Brent will have things written down I'll say, man, I really want to, we should write something around this. Or
that seems like a more difficult way to me to write a song.
It is, because a lot of times people will write words, and I've had this happen just as a producer or co-writing with somebody. Like, I've got these words done, they're done, they just need music. Well, rhubarb doesn't necessarily sing too well, right? Or whatever. It's you're not writing a book of poetry, you're writing songs.
Right.
So you have to make these things not only sound poetic, but flow over music and melody. Make it work. So sometimes starting with only lyrics and being married to those lyrics is kind of a bad idea. For me, it seems to always, and for us, it seems to work better if you can sit down and just sort of start formulating music and melody first. And it's not always me with the music. There's a third or fourth track on the new Shinedown record that I went in here to the restroom, and I was coming out, came back in the room. Brent had an acoustic guitar, and he's playing this just nonsense like little lick, and I'm like, what is that? He goes, oh, I'm just messing around. And I was like, that's really cool, let's write around it. And it became the guitar lick for this song. And it's the main lick that first thing you hear, and it's the main riff throughout the song is a variation of that. I mean, we expanded on it, but you just have to be willing to let inspiration find you, and for you to find it. And I wish there were there is no formula for us though with songwriting. I mean, it's the only steadfast thing for us is that we want to, it is the lyrics, it has to have integrity. The lyrics have to be honest. They have to say, we want to find something that says exactly what we want to say in a way that we don't think has been said before, if possible. We try to stay away from certain lyrics that get used a lot, that sing really well in songs, like the word break, away, down, away, break, blah. These words that you hear a lot in rock music. The reason why the word baby gets used so much in songs isn't because they're talking about their girl. It's because baby it just sings really well over everything. It's baby, away, sings really well, and it's kind of a go-to thing. So we try to just stay away. If we can, we'll use those words if it calls for it, but we're trying to let's find some more. Let's try to say something no one else would say. Try to scratch that. Let's try to find a way to say more in 6 words than most people could say in 600. You know, like and not in a way they would expect. Whether we
Right.
accomplish it is what it is.
Hmm.
You know, it's not. I'm not sitting here saying Shinedown writes songs that say more in 6 words than most people can say in 600. That's not what I'm saying. This is the goal, though. You know, we might end up with the dumbest sounding song you've ever heard, and there are bad Shinedown songs. People will say, "I've never heard a bad Shinedown song." Well, that's because you haven't heard all of them.
Yeah, you have some of them, right?
Yeah, and you know, you're striving for. Oh, and the worst is when you think you've got something really great, and then you realize a week later that it's really really bad.
Yeah.
Because maybe you went too far. You tried to say something too clever, and you tried to do it too much, and you know, maybe it needed to be breakaway, and you tried to go do something
Yeah,
that
you
you
tried
shouldn't have
too hard.
done. Yeah. So all of these things are possible and happen.
Yeah.
I hope that sort of answers your question. But
Yeah.
but then again, like we'll get in the room with Brent, Zach, and myself, and we'll write. We also write with Dave Bassett, who's a great friend of ours, who is an incredible song. He wrote Second Chance with Brent. He wrote Sound of Madness with Brent. He's a great writer and a even better human being, fantastic human being. And I enjoy his company. We enjoy riding with him. And so when we reach a point where we feel like we were tapped a little bit, but we know we probably need some other stuff, we go to Dave. And you know, just being in the room with somebody fresh like that all of a sudden starts bringing things out of us that we'd forgotten were there or we didn't know were there. Because with Dave, sometimes it's a little bit of a faster process. You know, one or 2 days, day and a half on a song rather than 3 or 4, which is what Brent and I usually spend, you know, kind of flushing things out. Dave's a little more quick. He's not rushing us through the process. That's just the way he works.
Just does it.
And so like every day I'd be sitting in the hotel room. Okay, I got to go in there with something, a piece of music, a melody, idea, a lyric. And so you kind of do a little bit of homework, whereas normally I wouldn't do that. And you walk up, you know, go up the mountain to his house, and it's like that seed of an idea you had in a hotel room, you know, 3 hours prior is now a major part of a song. And so he's in that way drawing things out of you that and he'll have things prepared too, but it's just funny the way that will kind of, he'll spark, you know, you'll think you're tapped out and you're really not.
Yeah.
You know?
Tell me about the song off your last record, Get Up, was about you. How did you feel when you found that out?
It was different for sure. We had I had that melody, the verse melody and piano part. I had written the song called Goodnight Caroline. It was about a fan that I had met once who came and gave me some really heavy news or told me something really heavy about herself. I don't know if her name was Caroline or not, but it was a conversation I had with a fan after a show, signing autographs, and just told me this really, really heavy stuff about how the band had helped her. And then she just turned around and walked away, kind of into the shadows, you know. And it was like this moment of you know, kind of wondering where she went or what happened, you know, after the fact. But that was kind of the genesis for that. And I had the piano and the and I had it just kind of laid out again in phonetic nonsense for that part of the song. And I played it for Brent. And then the chorus that I had was Good Night, Caroline, which ended up being the pre-chorus for Get Up. We knew, and so at that point I was like, okay, that was a pre-chorus. That's another thing about songwriting. Sometimes when you think you have a chorus, it's not really a chorus. It's more of a pre-chorus, right? There's somewhere better you can go. And so Brent and I got out of the live room at the studio on the piano and came up with a Get Up, da, 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 da. I didn't know what it meant. That was just kind of phonetically what we were working with, Get Up. I didn't know if that was going to be part of the song, but it was like Get Up, da, da. Again, Get Up sings really well. So we just kind of phonetically landed on that. And I made the track, and Brent's like, let me sit with this for a second, because we weren't really coming up with anything else. And sometimes the poisonous part of sitting on something for a while, like the Goodnight Caroline idea that I've been sitting on since 2016 or something, or 2015, means that I've kind of lost perspective on anything new with it. So kind of need to put it in his hands to sort of come up with something, you know. Whereas I'm married to this other idea that I had,
Yeah,
and
you're stuck there.
I can't let
Yeah.
go of it. And it wasn't something that was making him tick. So,
Yeah.
at that point, you can't, again, it has to mean something to everybody. So I couldn't, he can't just write about this idea that I had if it doesn't do something for him. So he took it and he had it for a few days, and we hadn't written, like, it had been a couple of days, and we hadn't done anything. I had also come up with some other riff ideas during that time, one of which was the riff for Devil, a couple other things. But I was like, hey man, he's like, well, I don't have anything yet. I was like, well, then let's just move on. That can just be a dead idea for right now. We can come back to it later. The track exists. We got some melodies. We'll come back to it. He goes, well, I kind of do have something, but I'm kind of nervous to show you. And I was like, just come to the studio, show it to me. And so he sang the first verse, the whole first verse. And that was kind of, and the get up, get a move on. Ain't nothing wrong. I forget, it was a couple things need to be finished on. I don't really remember. I know we didn't have the pre-chorus yet. Mm-hmm. But he sang it to me, and he goes, you know what that's about? And I was like, yeah, it's about me, because we,
so you knew
just the day before, though, we had this, or a couple of days before, when last time he was in the studio. Again, I'm going through this process of making records, and I have to suffer or something, I have to suffer through this stuff for whatever reason. And I said something about, I feel like I'm twisting myself in knots, and it makes me want to give up sometimes. And then he's always saying that lyric about how he's like, I'd rather twist myself in knots than watch you give up on your dreams. And I knew what it was about because of that. And it was really sweet. And it meant a lot to me, because I'd never had anybody write a song for me before. The weirdest part, though, is having to finish it after you know that.
Yeah.
Because I then knew the song was about me. I've written songs from my perspective about things I'm going through, of course, but I never had to finish a song that someone else had written about me. And we needed the pre-chorus and all of that. And I had a previous song that Brent came up with. We're kind of, and Brent said, don't, if you were ever in doubt, don't sell yourself short. You might be bulletproof. And I'm looking through my lyric book of other past songs. This is why songs are never dead, by the way. I have this thing called Song Mountain, and I just write. If you're a songwriter and you're watching this, don't ever consider a song dead. Don't ever consider an idea dead. Just put it on Song Mountain, finish it, record the demo, write the lyrics down or whatever, and put it away. You never know when it's going to come back to you. And I'd written a song that I turned in to my publisher, I don't know, a few years before. And I look in my book under that thing, in that song, and the lyric was right there. It's hard to move mountains when you're paralyzed, but you got to try. And it was like the perfect, again, that was one of my small lyrical contributions to that song, but it was still strange to like finish writing something that is about you in that way, something that intimate. It's about you in that way. Yeah. And Brent wrote it about himself as well. Like that's the back and forth. In the first verse where he's talking about, I know you might be clinging to the light of day, that whole first part. And the second part is, where he's talking about himself. I know they might say I'm a little intense. Well. Yeah. And that song was the thing that kind of opened up attention to what that record ended up being about, which was Brent's struggle with addiction and my struggle with, crippling depression, and and sort of being, how to sort of have a triumphant, you don't ever defeat those things. This was the important thing about attention was when we get to the end of it, the reason why the lyrics at the end of Brilliant, because Brilliant's supposed to be the big triumphant moment in that record, but Brent and I both know that if you don't respect your demons, if you don't respect the fact that you've got addiction issues, or you don't respect the fact that you deal with depression, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, whatever you deal with, those things are always part of you and they're always there.
Yeah.
And the minute that you stop respecting them and just feel like, oh, I've defeated these things and they're done and I've gotten over it, they come back and they get you.
Mhm.
And so that's why the last lyric, main lyric other than brilliant in the song Brilliant is, you know, you better run for your life. You know, it's like you yes, you might have you've overcome these things, but you still have to respect them because you're going to have to deal with them still, even if you overcome them. So
Sure.
um so that's what that record ended up being about. And Get Up was the song that kind of made it okay to write about these things that again, instead of putting it on someone else or on another situation, you know, taking a real story that's about you and maybe framing it differently, you say, I'm going through this, because for the listener, that's real, you know, and that's
Yeah.
you know, we've never been scared to show our scars or to show. I take that back. In the past, we may have been scared to show the scars. That record for me, and it actually started with I think back about it now, you know, that the song Cut the Cord, when I was producing that, did the same thing with Brent on that, where uh uh you know, I made him put the lyrics on himself, whereas initially they weren't.
Oh.
You know, we'd originally written that song, and they were that song actually had a whole other chorus before we recorded the record. The demo had a
Oh
whole other
wow.
chorus, and it was we were taking all those things that are said in the verses. The verses were the same, but then when it got to the chorus, we were throwing it off onto somebody else. You know, I think some of the original lyrics were, you know, don't be a tragedy like everyone else, because you know, you don't need to do that. And it was like, hang on, we've spent all these verses talking about me, why are you taking it off of yourself now when it's time to be real? You know, when it
Right.
gets to the
Right.
chorus.
Right. Right.
So it kind of started with that. And then when we got to attention, when we really knew what we wanted to write about, it was okay, none of that. Like, this is all going to be introspective for both of us. And Zach as well, you know, and you know, really writing from a real place. So yes, there was a time when maybe we were more reluctant to show that stuff, but attention made it okay.
Yeah.
And it's very liberating. It's nice to to bear yourself like that in with your music.
Well,
I
you
think
had
it's
that had to touch a lot of people too. I mean, you had to have a lot of
yeah.
people come up to you on tour.
Oh
Just
yeah,
yeah.
constantly. I mean, it was, you know, it made meet and greets a lot heavier
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
I bet.
Which you know is you know, you can be difficult, you know, every day, but you have to understand that these people are that's what music is for me. What an honor to have someone tell you that something that you created, pulled out of thin air, you know, pulled into existence from the atmosphere, that something that you did saved their life, or
Yeah.
help them come to terms with their sexuality,
Yeah.
or you know, got them through the roughest time in their life. I mean, I don't know if there is a higher honor than that. It's not something that you're, maybe with movies, maybe people will see a movie and have a life-changing moment like that. It's not, maybe you don't get it from paintings or from books, or maybe, you know, maybe I'm wrong. I feel like music is tailor-made for that. Music is so subjective, whereas other art forms are more objective, where, like, you know, movie is like, this is what this movie is, this is what it's about. You know, painting is, I can't say a painting's not subjective, of course it is, but I'm thinking about life-changing things. You know, a book is like, they're spelling out what the story is. This is the story. Music, it's here's the story from my perspective, from Brent's perspective. You glean from it what you can, and take from
Hmm.
it what you need. um I think that's a super high calling, you know, and something that
Definitely.
I'm really proud to be able to help in, you know. I mean, the fact that our band has found a way to, you know, without really trying, and I'm not saying that in a, again, you know, we just write what we know,
Yeah.
and for some
Guys are real,
reason
like we said.
we're able to reach people is just super humbling, and not something we take lightly. And so, yeah, man, on that record, we heard a lot of we got a lot of that. And I don't have a problem with that. You know, I'd listen
Yeah,
to
no, that's
people's,
awesome.
I'll listen to people's stories all day, man. You know,
Yeah,
when it comes to that. So,
that's awesome.
um, you know, we are, uh, we are non-board certified therapists is what we are, you know,
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. You're right. You're right.
and you know, and so the fact that people find solace in our music and our records is again just you know, I have to pinch myself sometimes and wonder how,
I
you know,
bet.
how we ended up here. But
Yeah, yeah, I bet you do that a lot. I mean,
I do,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
daily. Actually, there's not a day that goes by that I don't know if it's imposter syndrome, but it's a bit of that for sure. Like, what am I doing here? You know,
Well, didn't
I
you
don't.
guys
Yeah, I mean,
recently? Didn't you recently hit like a certain like a record #1 hits or something?
yeah, I mean, they're two the two that feel the most surreal. I, I I'll preface this by saying I don't have a single award hung up in my studio or in my
I
house.
hear
I
that a
don't
lot.
want to.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate them and I
Yeah.
love that they exist. I'm not diminishing them. I just I don't even want to. I wouldn't want to look at them all the time.
Mm.
I've had, you know, I go to my mom and dad's house. They've got them. I get to see them there, you know, and my aunt's house, and my she used to live with my grandmother. My grandmother passed away, but my aunt's still there, and in her house, their records are there. And I, you know, I almost it makes me appreciate them more seeing them there in the people's houses who helped me
Hmm.
get where I am. But the out of all of the awards, the two that are the most surreal to me, one is most #1 songs in active rock history,
That's crazy.
more than Van Halen, more than Tom Petty,
Right.
more than you know, than I mean that list is absurd. And then Billboard Magazine 40th anniversary voting us the #1 mainstream rock band of all time up to this point.
Yeah.
Those two things for me, uh, when you look at the company that you're with on those charts, and from our contemporaries to people who came before us, you know, and knowing, knowing most of our contemporaries really well who were on that list,
Hmm.
you know, is humbling enough because of knowing what great bands they are and what great people they are and how hard they work. But then you see, like I say, you see Van Halen or you see Tom Petty or you see ACDC or you see whatever on that list, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah. You're like,
what,
what
you know,
the hell am I
how do you
doing?
arrive at, how does this happen?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, we know it happens through hard work and through really caring about what we do and all of those things. But look, man, I'm still that guy that we started this conversation saying where I'm riddled with self-doubt and I sit in this room and hope that what I'm doing is good enough, you know?
Yeah.
And so how do you, you know, how does that equal that?
Yeah.
At the end of the
Don't
day?
lose that though. Don't
Oh,
lose that.
I can't. I'm actually in the process of this new studio I built. If you turn this is the back of the control room that goes out into the
Okay.
live room. I actually turned it around because I have a really nice view out. I live in Charleston, South Carolina. We talked
Yeah.
about and so I'm about 3 miles from the ocean on this little inlet, you know, marsh
Yeah. Yeah.
creek, you
Hmm.
know, and Tidal Creek. And I got this really nice view out here. I'm actually in the process of putting up shutters that close, like hurricane shutters that will close over that view because I don't want to see that all the time when I'm working. You know, I realize that's something that in my old studio that I miss is kind of being in the bunker and not knowing day or night, not really having a view. You're just in the music and that's it. And when I'm writing, it's great to look out over that because I something about when I'm songwriting, I just sort of look out into nothingness and I have to kind of have something I'm looking out into. You
Hmm.
know, when I'm here, it's like I look out at the river. When I'm at Dave's house, he's up in Santa Monica Mountains. I look out at the mountains, but just kind of glazed over. And it helps me write lyrics. Once the lyrics are done and I'm just making the record, I want to be in the submarine, man. I want to be in the bunker, like making the
Yeah.
record. I don't want to see anything that reminds me of success.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I've got great equipment and that kind of thing. Those are just tools. Like I don't want to look out at that view when I'm creating anymore. Like I realize that's a thing for me is you're not making your seventh record, you're making your first record.
Yeah. None of that stuff was there when you made your first record.
Correct. And the next Shinedown record, when we make the 8th Shinedown record, we're making our first record. again.
Hmm. Hmm.
That is one thing that we always talk about is yeah, we're making number 7, but it's not number 7. This is number 1. This is the
Hmm.
first one. What do how do you want people, if this is the only thing people ever heard by this band?
Yeah.
Because for some people it will be the only thing they ever hear from our band.
Yeah.
um how do you want it to be accepted? How do you want people to listen to it?
Hmm.
So um I have realized that about myself, and all of that, talking about awards and that sort of thing. We I had someone ask me, not an interview, but I was just in conversation with them about like, oh, you guys have never been nominated for a Grammy or anything like that? Or no, we don't, no, we haven't. I wouldn't kick it out of bed if it happened. I'm not gonna be mad if we get nominated for a
You're
Grammy,
not
but
losing sleep
I,
over it though.
I don't need it. And here's the thing: what we talked about before about the fans and meeting the fans and having those conversations with them. I don't need anything else. And I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that in a wholehearted way. Um, it's so I do need the award to me is playing in arenas and
Yeah.
sold out arenas and having people love your music and sing it back to you. I don't really know what else you need. I and my response to that person talking about and I'd said this in the moment, and I thought about it later. I was like, that's actually really true. I was like, I guess Shinedown has rewards and not awards, when it comes to like things like
There
Grammys
you
or
go.
American
Yeah.
Music Awards or whatever. It's again, I would gladly accept those things if they come along, but
But you know what? You don't
um
have those things, but Shinedown has been one of the most successful bands in a while.
yeah, man. And it's I think and I have to, again, at the risk of not sounding humble, this is very true though, is that we are a band of humble guys. Like, and most bands are. Most of the bands that I know are,
Hmm.
with a few exceptions. But um, we were all raised kind of the same way. Our families are all very similar. Our, we were taught. We all had very different paths to get to where we are. Um, but we were all raised with a certain uh, humbleness, I guess, is for lack of a better word. And uh, so one thing that when Brent and I were talking about this new record that's going to come out early this next year, it is that it's a record that was for the people by the people. Like we feel like I get paid to be a rock star for an hour and a half every night, hour 45, 2 hours, whatever it is, and I better do a really really good job of that when I'm on stage. I better be larger than life. We all better be. You better be Shinedown when you're
Right.
up there.
People expect that.
When I get done playing about 30 minutes after I've come down from everything and I'm settled in, I'm just a dude, man, who's really fortunate to be able to do what he does. And none of us go out into our public lives, meaning I don't go out in public around people with any sort of, not putting on airs or anything, just
Mm.
trying to be, we're just normal people, man. We just happen to do a really cool job, have a really great job. And
Yeah.
that's how we all do it. That's how we all go about our business. And I think that that's why we're still together. That's why we all still love each other. We all still ride the same bus when we could be on different buses and, each have our own existence out on tour. We choose to be around each other,
Yeah. That's awesome.
and it keeps us together and it keeps us grounded, where, you know, believe me, I'm not hypocritical. Like when they're announcing who's up for a Grammy, we're looking.
Sure.
I'll look to see if we're on the list, and if we're not, and when we're not, we just go back to watching whatever movie we're watching on the
Right.
bus and
Right.
get them next
Yeah.
time
That's awesome. Yeah.
or whatever.
Just keep
but
it that way, man.
yeah, man, it's one thing this band is never going to do. Now we know what we bring to the table. We know what our worth is. We we're not all shuck. We don't all shucks our way through everything. But when it comes to the art and comes to making the music and bringing the music to people, we are always keeping ourselves in check. I mean,
Hmm.
there's only a journey, not a destination,
Yeah.
and that's it. So how can we do better than we did last time, and
Hmm.
and write better songs um, be better musicians,
Yeah.
bring a bigger show, give people what they pay for. We'll never skimp on the show. Certain venues where we can't bring all the bells and whistles we'd like to bring. And when we do that, we have the saying, we say we're going to be our own pyro. We'll just go up there and give it all we got every night, so again, that's why I believe we're still here. That's why I believe that hopefully we'll be here in 10, 20 years, 30 years, who knows?
Right. So you have
still playing.
You have a big tour planned, right? Next year?
We do.
Like a lot of dates, right?
Yeah, we've already got 199
That's a lot
booked. Like we haven't announced everything. We've already got for the first time kind of in our band's history, we have the whole next year sort of, we already know where we're going to be. So it's busy.
Yeah.
That's one thing we're known for is leaving and not coming back home for a long time. So
is that get risky with the way things are now with COVID?
Meaning
to book a big tour like that, because at any time it could stop.
Yeah, but we're all good now. I think everybody in our band has had it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as the band doesn't stop, I think we're good, and I think I was the last one. I was the last holdout for that. So, and this is not speaking out of class. You can actually go on the CDC website where it says that you, there's not a documented case of somebody actually having COVID twice. So, but I mean, look, man, there's risk in everything. There's more risk when I get on a bus at night, going down the highway at 70 miles an hour, I wasn't worried about touring when I could have caught meningitis and the flu and, insert virus here, SARS-CoV-1 or Ebola or whatever, I've probably been exposed to all of that stuff all over the world. I don't live my life like that, man. And we don't live our lives like that at all. We're going to go until, look, I got COVID on tour and we had to find a different way of doing it. Lucky for us, our monitor engineer records every show we play, which is awesome. It's a great catalog to have. Go back and listen to every show that we've done since 2012.
Wow. That's a lot.
So because of that, for the first two shows until we could get some out to play, they had all my bass tracks. They just went up and played, and they said, "Hey, Eric's got COVID. You're hearing Eric Bass from 2 nights ago."
Oh, wow.
playing through the system, and because we played a click track all night, so
they could have hologrammed you.
They could have at least, right? But Josh Sturm, our good friend Josh, who's Lacey Sturm from Lacey Sturm's husband. Lacey, formerly of Flyleaf, he's gone out and he filled in for Zach on guitar in Europe when Zach was having his second son and couldn't go on that tour. He filled in for me on bass on the last record when my back went out really badly for a few shows. He's just a great human being, man. He's kind of our fifth member unofficially, because he's always there for us. And there you go. But he couldn't get out immediately, so the first couple of shows we had to, but we do what we have to do as a band. And hopefully COVID won't put a halt on anything for us now going forward of any sort. Short of a nuclear fallout or Brent having laryngitis are really the only two things I can think of that are going to stymie a Shinedown show. I've gone out there with broken bones and everyone else has too, and sick as a dog. COVID was a different story. If it had just been the flu, I would have been out there playing. So it's define risky. I don't know. I'm not one of these people that is in the death cult of COVID. I'm just not. No, I'm not going to be. And my band isn't. We're realistic about it. I had it. I had a really bad case of it too.
Yeah, I had. And it knocked me out for about a month.
Yeah, I was 3.5, almost 4 weeks straight with fever.
Yeah.
So it was a bad case of it, and you know what? And I was in the middle of it. I was, you realize it can be dangerous for some people, but anything can be dangerous for some people, and you just have to, let people assess their own risk. I think that's where we are. And for me and for our band, I don't ever go through life thinking of what could happen. I've just never been that person.
Yeah, you can't.
I'm the how soon can I jump out of the airplane? And I'm that guy. you know?
Yeah.
So, but then again, my aunt who has COPD, I don't want her going out and getting it. She's high risk, you know? And so it's a totally different thing for someone like that right now. I
Yeah.
think that what we're seeing as far as, as far as COVID goes is every variant, it gets less severe, more communicable, less severe,
Mhm.
which is what viruses do. You know, as they mutate, they become less severe but more communicable. The flu that we get flu shots for every year is a variant left over from the Spanish flu.
Mhm.
That's,
Mhm.
you know, it's no one's, I'd say no one, people do die from it. I shouldn't say no one dies from it. Of course they do, but it's a less severe variant, but very communicable. And
Yeah.
that's where we're headed with COVID, I think. And so, you know, you
Yeah. I was
can't
just
stay
talking to
locked.
somebody today about that same thing, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah, man. And again, it's not, it's sad that that's become a political viewpoint, but it's
Mhm.
not. I don't view public health through a political lens at all. I just want
Mhm.
facts. And I go, that one, you know, my band can go down this rabbit hole to talk about, because we study it. Like we read constantly about it. Like I read the CDC websites and FDA, WHO. I also read independent doctors and what they're finding and their studies are, and we try to inform ourselves, you know, because we are in a business where you do need to be informed about it,
Mhm.
you know, and I don't want anybody getting sick. I don't want our fans getting
Sure.
sick. I don't want, but I sure as hell don't want society locking themselves inside indefinitely because, you know, some people's fanatical obsession with not dying is keeping everyone else from living,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so, in that case, lock us all inside because cars are dangerous, and lock us all inside because we
Yeah.
might drown in the swimming pool, you know?
Right.
Just,
Well, I'm excited for you guys to be out on tour. I saw you guys. I don't even know if you were in the band when I saw you guys. It was a long time ago in Florida. When did
I
you
joined
started in 2007, right?
7. Yeah.
Okay. I think it might have been
Yeah.
right before that. But
Yeah. I'm forever the new guy, always and forever. I'll always
always the
say,
new
so,
guy.
always the new guy. You can be here as long as you want, and you'll always be the new guy in some people's eyes. But
Yeah, yeah.
uh, to that point, man, I tell you what, I've said this before, and I never get tired of saying Brad Stewart, who was the original bass player in Shinedown,
Hmm.
has never been anything but amazing to me, and just a really great human being toward me. When
That's awesome.
I know that some people might could get. I know it wasn't an easy thing probably for him, and so not being in the band anymore, and he could have treated me differently, and he never has. He's always
Hmm.
been really, really awesome, man. And he's a talented
That's
dude
awesome.
too. He's a really talented dude. He looks way cooler than I do, so I don't know how to like compete with that, but I stopped trying to look cool a long time ago, so
Yeah, me too.
just it is what it is.
Yeah,
This is my face. It's not going
yeah,
to do
yeah,
anything else.
yeah. That's
This
why I
is
got
what it
all the
is.
gray.
But
And
oh, dude, so people think that I put product in my hair to make it do this. This is nothing but gray hair that grows in, and it's all wiry, and my hair just sticks up now. It doesn't even lay down because all the gray hair.
So will it just grow out if
Yeah,
you let
dude,
it keep going?
I grow it. I've had a fro recently, like I was like Phil Spector, like for a while. It was just like this. That's when I kind of did the mohawk, but it was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it was froed out for a minute.
yeah. Well, the hawk looks good. Keep it going.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying.
But
I'm
yeah,
trying.
so hopefully you guys will be. Are you playing Charleston? Do you know? Is that the date?
No, we're doing Greenville, I believe, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this, I'm probably giving something away. I don't know what I'm supposed. I don't know what's been announced or what
You
hasn't
don't know
been.
what to say.
How about this? Maybe I'll get in trouble, but we are playing the arena in Greenville on coming up soon. I think it's been announced. Maybe it hasn't. I don't know.
I think I saw that. I think
Oh
it's out
well,
there.
maybe I'll be in trouble. I don't know. I don't know.
You'll be all right.
I'm the band member. I never look at dates. I never look at where we're going. I never look at when. I don't know when we're leaving, when I'm coming home. I just, I will approve tours based on how many days in a row we have before a day off. Like I don't want 3 in a row, day off, 3 in a row. Like that's not good for the voices, or for my 47-year-old back. But
Yeah.
other than that, I don't look at it. So when it comes time to like, I don't know what tours have been announced, which ones haven't. I'm terrible. Like I'm so in this. I know everything that's going on with the music and in the studio. Other
Yeah.
than that, Zach and Brent have a tendency to do. They do a lot of the stage lighting and Zach's got this insane design. Zach and Brand, it really came from Zach. This insane stage design for this next arena tour we're going to do, and probably through the rest of the year in the arenas. That will be our stage setup. So really, really excited about that stuff because that's all visual stuff, and I don't necessarily always do visual very well. So
no, you're more the audio.
Yeah, but we're really excited about getting back out on tour, man. Like properly back out on tour. Not like last time we did go last year. We did two runs. I got sick, but that was just sort of that was what you were talking about earlier, the risk, or like, let's see how this is going to work. Let's see if this is going to work and how different it is and what we need to do. It's not super different, and for us anyway. And so yeah, I mean, it's I think we're ready to go now. I mean, we're ready to kind of put as much as we can, put COVID in the rearview mirror. Let's do that, and let's go forward and give people a reason to feel good, man.
Yeah, that's exciting. Well, I can't wait to hear the new record. Hopefully, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I can get out to Greenville, but I'll see.
Well, hey, man, come on. It's not that far, right? It's what 3.5 hours from you or something?
From here, probably. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, just let us know, man. You got my email. Just shoot me a message. Let me know. Love to have you out.
I will, and then we'll get you back on as when you can talk more about the record. We'll get you back on here and discuss it.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, man. I appreciate just having this little conversation with me.
Of course, man. Yeah, it's nice to be on. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll talk. Okay.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. Bye.